What is up, duelists? Arts and Crafts here, continuing to bring you some in-depth coverage of the GOAT Format War League Season 6 playoffs. If you've been following along, we are now in the semifinals, the top four best teams in the league, arguably duking it out for the chance for a World Championship invite in the fall of this year. In the top half of the bracket, we have the 1 seed, the tournament favorites, Bug Catchers, taking on 5th seed Damage Step, the only top 4 team to have pulled off an upset in their quarterfinal matchup. So definitely some solid momentum for them there. On the bottom half of the bracket, we've got 3 seed Bomb Squad, fresh off of a victory over defending champions Rico Act. Got to feel really good about that one. Versus 2 seed the Bones Generation, who had just completed a 6-0 sweep against their opponent's Nemesis. So 4 really, really solid teams, all hitting momentum right at a solid part of the season and trying to win that championship. For today's feature, we are going to be focusing on the top half of the bracket, Bug Catchers versus Damage Step. We're going to start off with a little bit of a refresher on the team profiles. So Bug Catchers, as mentioned, they are a 1 seed. They had an 8-2 record in the regular season. Very, very solid. And if you take a look at the decks that they like to play, they are predominantly a Chaos Turbo team. Best deck in the format, most people would say. Their strategy so far is just, let's play the best deck and outplay our opponents down the stretch, and so far it's been working out pretty well. They do have one player that does throw a bit of a wrench into things, though. Their Steingate specialist, MattUber, who's the 21st ranked player after the regular season in the MVP standings. So just a little bit of a curveball to potentially keep people off their toes, or on their toes. And they can't just prep solely for Chaos Turbo, because you never know if you have to deal with MattUber on their their special list. Heading over to Damage Step, 6-4 record in the regular season, earned them that 5th seed, like I mentioned. Matchup or deck lists relatively similar to Bug Catchers, except not as much of an emphasis on Chaos Turbo. Still definitely several Chaos Turbo mains here between Captain MMF as well as 5th seed Psychotic and even Insidious here. And then lots of players who can also not only play Chaos Turbo, but also several other decks here, like 7 seed Gulaws plays Chaos Turbo, but also has their own special sort of lockdown burn list, as well as a little bit of Earth aggro thrown in there for fun, I guess, as well. A little bit more versatile of a team than the Bug Catchers, as you can see. Lots of players that can play multiple decks, even if they do tend to favor, Chaos Turbo or some of the other big ones. But into a team that is predominantly playing Chaos Turbo, I would have to assume that any of the players that play Warrior, even as a main deck or even as like an alternative, are probably going to be bringing that just because it's a generally favorable matchup. But anything goes here now that we're in the semifinals. So for the Wave 1 pairings, we can see Bug Catchers, they brought the same exact 6-person roster that they won their quarterfinal matchup with. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, I guess. In round 1, it was, I believe, MattUber on their patented Steingate list, as previously mentioned, and the other 5 players brought Chaos Turbo, so I would very much not be surprised to see the exact same sort of deck spread from this team here now that we're in the semifinals. Damage Step does look like they made one substitution to their starting roster here. Captain MMF is sitting out the semifinals here, subbing in another Chaos Turbo specialist here in Insidious. Another very good player. Not sure exactly why that decision was made, but if you have a solid player like Insidious sitting on your bench, definitely really, really good sign for your overall roster strength there. For our feature match for today, we're going to go, I know we've watched them a few times in the past, but we're going to stick with MattUber here. Love watching that Steingate list. We can always watch a Turbo Mirror later on, probably, is what I'm thinking. Bobby Buckets did play Chaos Turbo in the quarterfinals, but as we saw in kind of their, deck spread here, they do also play Warrior a decent amount of the time, and so I would very much not be surprised to see them playing Warrior, considering they're going up against the Bug Catchers, who is, like I said, predominantly a Chaos Turbo team. And so running Warrior is just going to be generally a probably positive EV decision into this team, even if Bobby did not get the matchup that they were likely expecting here into MattUber, who's likely playing that Steingate list that they've brought every other week so far this season that they have played. So without further ado, let's get into the feature match. As always, I have randomized the positions of both these players as to not spoil the outcome. I am expecting Warrior versus Steingate. could be Chaos Turbo versus Steingate, but that's kind of what we, would expect going in here. Looks like Bobby Buckets won the rock, paper, scissors, off to a really solid start. And they are going to lead out with a Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer. Okay. So main deck Kaiku does make me lean a little bit towards Warrior. You could play that in Chaos Turbo, but it's definitely less common. And they're just going to set a couple of back row behind it. Solid opening using their normal summon. All good stuff there. MattUber here going to make it to main phase 1, but not before getting hit by a Trap Dust Shoot, and we'll get a little bit of intel into what both players are playing. So MattUber here, this does not look like Steingate, does it, folks? Looks like we've got a little bit of Panda Burn action up here, most likely. Double Secret Barrel, double Ojama Trio, Big Shield Gardna, Giant Trunade. Yep, just a classic burn list from what I can tell here. And Bobby is actually kind of lucky that they found a monster to hit with this Trap Dust Shoot, because you're not always going to find one against such a back row heavy deck. But the Big Shield Gardner will be sent back. This is actually a lot of intel for Bobby. Really didn't, have to make too many decisions while probably assuming MattUber was playing Steingate. And so, yeah, really, really valuable Trap Dust Shoot here. Bobby, we can see in the hand, basically confirming that they're playing Warriors. We see the Rhoda in hand, which is the big giveaway, but also that DD Warrior lady. Very, absolute staples in the Warrior strategy. So, yeah, Big Shield Garnet will be sent back, and Bobby's now got to prepare for potential onslaught, a little bit of trio lock stuff they might have to worry about. Secret Barrel, of course, combos nicely with the Ojama Trios, although the Trios are a little bit redundant, of course. You can't activate two at the same time, really. But we'll see how this one plays out. Interesting match so far with a matchup that we don't always see here, especially at the top tables. Warrior versus Burn. MattUber going to go set for pass. Got to assume we're setting everything except for that Giant Trunade, most likely. Bobby gets to get back to their turn with the Kaiku still on the board. And we know that there's nothing that MattUber has in the back row to prevent this Kaiku from getting in for some damage. So wouldn't be surprised to see Bobby just commit another threat to the board. Maybe you go for the Donzalug. Maybe you go for that DD Warrior Lady that we already know is in hand. See what the play is. Gonna go Rhoda for Donzalug. Yeah, so extracting as much value as possible. Gonna go beat in for 14 and then rip out probably that Giant Trunade from the hand. And this is a good chunk of damage here early on. Yep, hitting that Giant Trunade. Kaiku gets in for 18. Really nice clock here. Bobby Buckets off to the races. MattUber not finding any of their stall pieces. Panda Burn is one of those decks that definitely needs to find, especially in the Warrior matchup where they're going to be beaten down on you as fast as possible. Got to find your Gravity Binds. Got to find your level limit area Bs. Otherwise, you're just going to be taking tons of damage. And definitely advantage to our Warrior player, Bobby Buckets, here through the first couple turns. We're going to get an end phase Ojama Trio to trio lock Bobby, fill up. We'll make those secret barrels a little bit more dangerous. We'll make any top deck Yakugure Pandas pretty scary as well. But Bobby already has a pretty solid board. I feel like getting trio locked isn't as big a deal in Warriors compared to other lists like Chaos Turbo, because usually you're only planning on having one, maybe two monsters on the board at a time anyway in this list, since it's a very monster light deck. And so not really the end of the world for Bobby, if I had to guess. But MattUber does have plenty of cards in the list that can punish a fully filled up monster zone here. So we'll see what we got going on. Top deck Pot of Greed is a really good way to get you out of sticky situations. That will resolve. Nice. We're going to find the Yakugure Panda. So speak of the devil. The big beast is going to come down at full strength, 3,300 attack points. We'll be able to beat over any single one of these monsters as they so choose, but does have to worry about a potential, battle trap or something. See how MattUber chooses to play this one out. We're just going to go ahead and Torrential Tribute this as Bobby. Sure, yeah, you full damage Panda is a little bit scary, especially if you don't have a battle trap. So it'll clear out those tokens. You will take 900 damage and go pretty minus in card advantage, honestly, because of this. But you want to protect your life points as much as possible. We know they still have another threat in hand with that DD Warrior Lady as well, so it's not like they're going to be completely out of gas once this resolves. And yeah, I think protecting the life points is definitely a fine move. Yeah, it also, if the Torrential resolves, makes these secret barrels pretty much dead for the rest of the game for the most part. So it will force MattUber to use both of them right now. Still hit for what? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 1800 a pop. Not too bad. You're generally happy with that as a burn player. Yeah, chain both That's totally fine. We'll drop Bobby down to 4,400, minus the 900 from the Ojama tokens, but the board will be clear, and when the dust settles, Bobby, I guess, is actually just up a couple cards. Yeah, I mean, Trio, of course, being kind of a minus. Donzaloo getting that plus as well. So yeah, not terrible for Bobby, and honestly, really simplifying the game state is very, very nice against Burn because they kind of need a critical mass of cards to do stuff. So I think Bobby is very much in the driver's seat here so far. We know they have another threat in hand as well. Can't be stopped. Well, I guess we know one of the back row is Ojama Trio. The other one is an unknown, but we'll see if this DD War Lady can continue just apply pressure and beat in. It's a 4-turn clock on its own. But MattUber did find the Gravity Bind. Okay, so now if Bobby doesn't have an out to this Gravity Bind, things can get a little bit sticky from here on out because Bobby is only at 3,500 life points. You know, they've taken two pretty solid secret barrel hits, dropping them to a little bit less than half life. And if MattUber can just sit and stall behind this Gravity Bind for several turns, they will be able to find enough cards to deal that remaining 3,500 points of damage. So Bobby does need to be careful here. Needs to find some back row removal or like a level 3 or something to get under that Gravity Bind. Going to set a back row here. See what MattUber can do now that they have the shields up. Just going to set a monster pass. Jars and stuff are very scary. We'll see if Bobby... I guess we do know that Bobby did have Ennoblement of Crossout somewhere in the rotation. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that used here, although we do know that MattUber is on the Big Shield Gardener technology, so maybe MattUber wants to get knocked here. That is the real strength of the Big Shield Garden in the list. It makes those knocks that are generally very high value against Burn not as much of a sure thing anymore. And we'll see if Bobby chooses to fire theirs off here or not. We're going to go for it. Just found a set Breaker the Magical Warrior, so trying to get a little bit cute there. Force Bobby into maybe something crazy, but the Breaker's just going to trade 1-for-1 with the knock, and we're just going to pass. So Bobby, still having not found an answer to that Gravity Bind, is going to be stalled out a little bit longer here, and like I said, if this continues, MattUber will be in a really good spot, but Bobby still has like a turn or two, or if they answer the Gravity Bind, they're probably in a solid spot. Gonna set another backer or set another monster here though, and now with the knock gone, a little bit scarier for Bobby because if it is something real, you might not have an out to it anymore. It's gonna set a back row DD War Lady to defense, pass turn. Even if this isn't a real back row, you might oftentimes just want to set it here in case you're worried about a set Morphing Jar, which burn decks definitely are main decking. MattUber here just gonna set a back row pass though, so not flipping this up makes me think it's probably not a Morphing Jar, probably not a Cyber Jar. Could be like a Desk Koala with the only the one card in hand. Maybe it doesn't flip there, but really good chance it's like a Big Shield Gardener or some other sort of bluff set like the Breaker we just saw. So a little bit of stalled out game here thanks to this Gravity Bind. We're just going to get a little bit of draw go. Ooh, MattUber is on the Nightmare Wheel in the main deck. Don't see that all the time out of Panda Burn, but definitely a solid, removal plus burn kind of in a one-card package can be really nice. It feels pretty decent against Warrior specifically as well. It's generally not so great against like Chaos Turbo because they have Thunder Dragons that they can easily just like tribute summon over the Nightmare Wheeled monster with. But Warrior doesn't really have that play available to them most of the time. So this Nightmare Wheel is actually, a 7-turn clock at this point, which is a little bit scary here for Bobby if they can't find an out to this Gravity Bind, which is very much the focal piece of this game at this point in time. Add another set monster. Now you have to be worried again if you're Bobby, if that's a jar or something. Let's see what we got, though. We're going to go normal summon Exiled Force. That is a way to deal with the set monsters. Oh, we're actually just going to get rid of the DD Warrior Lady, though. That's really interesting. Okay, so it removes the Nightmare Wheel. You no longer have to worry about that clock, but you're using your Exiled to deal with the Nightmare Wheel instead of your opponent's new set monster, which could be a jar. However, what I think might be happening is getting the DD Warrior Lady in the grave does get you a little bit of light, dark, chaos alive here. You were missing that light. So we can go maybe slam down BLS, banish the new set monster. That would be pretty strong. And that's exactly what we're going to see here. BLS hitting the board, banish that new set monster, hitting Panda, so another bluff set, but still solid card advantage. And also dealing with MattUber's clock. So very productive turn for Bobby, even if this Gravity Bind is still sticking around. Still doing a good job eking out the card advantage and controlling the board. Oh, okay, interesting. MattUber had the bluff set exiled for, so we're just setting everything here in game one. Bluff set exiled is going to come through and deal with that BLS. Now, BLS is going to be a nice little 2-for-1, though, trading itself for both the Panda and the Exiled Force, so you probably still take that as Bobby, but definitely was not expecting to see the set Exiled Force. You do not see that every day, folks. A little bit tricky play at a MattUber here. Gonna answer that BLS. Gonna keep this Gravity Bind on field to stall out. Once again, all on Bobby to see if they can out that Floodgate. Draw, set, one, go. Nothing crazy yet. Draw, set, one, go. We've got a Graceful Charity, okay. Now is the time for Bobby to find some back row removal. Show me the Dust Tornadoes, right? Discard Minecon, not a card that you really want against Burn. Discard Blade Knight, level 4, can't do too much under the current circumstances. Found Pot of Greed, though, so a little bit of double Trinity action here late into game 1. Graceful into Pot. Just dug through several cards, but still hasn't found an out to this Gravity Bind. Chilling here on 3,000 life, relatively healthy, but MattUber is slowly but surely gathering up the units here and looking to go in for the kill. Let's see what we've got here. Set a monster pass. We've seen a lot of bluff sets here, so surely this one's real, right, guys? Surely. Bobby's got the knock, hitting the Panda, another bluff set. So MattUber, yeah, just really trying to bait out everything that they possibly can here to set up for a potential jar in the future. And we are just chilling here. Everyone's filling up that back row. Oh, we're going to get Standby Phase Ojama Trio here. Really interesting. Okay. Not sure why you needed to Standby Phase that. But unless we're just going to go for Standby Phase, like double just desserts for game. Is that the play? Got Nightmare Wheel on. So that was the play. So we wanted to get monsters on Bobby's side of the field so that we could activate our Nightmare Wheel and start clocking the opponent. Definitely feels pretty solid to me. But Bobby's going to chain Ring of Destruction, blowing up the token. They will take 300 damage from the token dying, but it does save them some life against this Nightmare Wheel that will be, perpetual damage until the game is over. So a little bit of an awkward play from Bobby, but definitely solid under the circumstances and in this specific matchup. Burn is, one of the most unorthodox decks in the format. So oftentimes you do have to make weird plays like Regeki breaking and ringing your own monsters to free up space to make your opponent's pandas and just desserts and secret barrels a little bit worse. All that good stuff. MattUber here gonna fire off the giant True Nade. So maybe going for some sort of play here. They can always just reset the Gravity Bind, which is definitely not too bad. It will open the Gravity Bind up to a Solemn Judgment, though, is one thing to worry about. Because Bobby is on Warrior. Generally, they're playing the full 3 copies of Solemn Judgment in the main. And it's clear Bobby hasn't found an out to the Floodgate just yet. So maybe giving them the opportunity to Solemn it in the future might not be the wisest, but we'll see. MattUber could just win the game on the spot here right now, of course, depending on what they have. We're just going to set 3 pass. Are we just going to go draw phase, trio plus double desserts or something? Definitely could be the move. Yep, trio here. Notably forcing out the ring on one of Bobby's own tokens. Set up for this full trio lock. This is a, Ojama quintuplet, I guess, right? Pull up the whole board with these Ojama tokens. MattUber can just fill up that back row again post Giant Trunade. But now it can't play any monsters. Ring, one of your best spot removal tools, is gone. Torrential Tribute is gone as well. How much do you even have in the list right now to get rid of these Ojama tokens? I'm not entirely certain. And MattUber just needs to find a panda or something, although all the pandas are gone, actually. Yeah, all the pandas are gone. But a Just Desserts or a Secret Barrel is pretty good as well. All right. Bobby here, just going to draw go. Feels like only a matter of time before MattUber finds the damage cards that they need. Going to set a monster. Draw go. Set a couple back row pass. Draw. Oh, a little bit of lag here, making it a little bit weird for both folks. In draw phase, though, MattUber is going to go Secret Barrel. This should be for game, right? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 22, 4, 6. Yeah, this is Secret Barrel for game. Going to get Solemn Judgmented by Bobby, so they stick around. Yeah, as expected, the Solemns were in the back row. So this Secret Barrel will cost Bobby, 1350 life points instead of all 2700. Definitely take that trade. Just Desserts here is now lethal, though. Solemn Judgment number 2. Bobby's only got 1 left in the list, potentially. And we're just going to refill back up that back row. So MattUber not able to deal the last remaining points of damage just yet, but once again, feels like it's only a matter of time. You've gotten through two of the Solemn Judgments to prevent those burn cards from hitting in true. And it's not like Bobby can pressure you anytime soon anyway, since they are fully Ojama locked. Show me Deskawala for a game. Don't see that every day. All right, just a little Drago action. Nothing too crazy. Yep, set a couple back row. Are these the ones that are going to be game? Just desserts for game? And there you have it. All right, a little bit long, drawn out there, as Burn likes to do. Bobby got off to a really solid start, but ran into a roadblock there with the Gravity Bind that they just couldn't find an answer for. Couldn't find an MST, couldn't find Heavy Storm, anything like that. And when you give Burn a million turns to just draw a bunch of cards, it's yet generally not so great. And MattUber is going to close out game one here on this Panda Burn list, which I did not expect them to bring. Right, this is the Steingate specialist here for their team, for the bug catchers. But they're 1-0 up here on a new deck here in the semifinals. So whipping out the new stuff late into the playoffs. Love to see it. Game two, though, Bobby on this Chaos or on this Warrior list will be able to go first. Once again, didn't work out so well last game, but definitely would rather be going first rather than second, of course, in this format at all times. Just going to set a single back row pass, though. Not the strongest opening. We'll see if MattUber can take advantage. We're going to go normal summon Pyramid Turtle. Okay. Are we Panda Burn siding into zombies? That would be pretty cool. He's going to run straight into a Torrential Tribute, but I love that. That's pretty neat. Torrential Tribute is going to come through here for Bobby. Clean answer to that Pyramid Turtle, at least. Also explains why they didn't summon any monsters turn one. Getting some solid, value there out of the Torrential. Difficult to deal with monster otherwise. Bobby here has just a back row to set, so maybe a little bit of not too much monster action coming through. MattUber has the giant rat. All right. So we can go rat into Pyramid Turtle into what? Ryukoki? I mean, Ryukoki is pretty good against warrior lists. So I definitely would understand if MattUber was on a little bit of like a zombie smokescreen side, specifically against warrior matchups. Because I do feel like warrior is generally pretty solid into burn. But the zombie smoke can make it a little bit awkward for our aggro player here. 1,400 points coming in hot here off this giant rat. Bobby is under a bit of a clock here, hasn't found a monster all game, but is going to set one here, potentially in the way of this rat now, stop the influx of damage. MattUber is just going to go set another monster, set a back row pass, keeping the rat in attack position. A little bit interesting if you're not choosing to attack with it, since it is a little bit stronger in defense, but maybe you actually just kind of want it to die. I don't know. Search for that panda or search for that pyramid turtle or something. MST in the end phase from Bobby is going to pop a back row. Now, we did see Bobby lose last game because they couldn't find their back row removal and couldn't deal with the battle floodgates. So using Mystical Space Typhoon just kind of willy-nilly just to snipe an unknown back row, a little bit risky if they find themselves wanting for back row removal later in the game when the floodgates hit the board. But maybe they're expecting MattUber here to not be on as much floodgate stuff here. If we are seeing those pyramid turtles, maybe suggest a little bit more of an aggressive bend to MattUber's list post side. So interesting choice there from Bobby, but it does have some merit. Bobby has this set monster that they could flip if it's something real. No, just going to set a back row pass. Nothing crazy. Both players just kind of taking their sweet time. We are going to get a Cyber Jar resolution here for MattUber. This is very solid for a burn player. Really just get a critical mass of cards here for them to go and deal big damage. Bobby is going to let that resolve. Kills their own Magician of Faith, which they chose not to flip up last turn. Could have grabbed that Mystical Space Typhoon, which maybe is why they just chose to go fire off that MST, because they thought they could regrab with the Faith later on. But unfortunately for them, delayed the Faith flip maybe one turn too late. Cyberjar is going to come through, remove it, wipe the board, and then we're going to spin into some interesting stuff. All right, Bobby, though, finds Heavy Storm, Pot of Greed, and Dust Tornado. Three very solid cards in the matchup. Sakuretsu Armor also quite nice, especially in this like Pyramid Turtle world we're living in. So no monsters hit here for Bobby, but definitely some solid units. See what they can use with those. MattUber finds, yeah, so they are on just a zombie package here post side. Likely their anti warrior strat. At least double Pyramid Turtle, single Ryu Koki is pretty nice. The Pyramid Turtle will be summoned here off the Cyberjar. They'll also find a Kinetic Soldier, which is, of course, a really, really nice card against Warrior, and another Giant Rat target, notably. And they find Tribe Infecting Virus. So, really solid hit here, I feel like, for MattUber. Just going to get a lot of monsters on board. Could be sketchy, though. Bobby Buckets could have a Mirror Force on board that could wipe out MattUber's side of things. So, you got to be a little bit careful here if you are the zombie burn player. Trio and Ryukoki will go back to hand. Ryukoki not exactly a card you want in the hand all the time. A little bit of a brick sometimes. But at least you have a lot of monsters on field if you want to go for the tribute summon play later on. And Bobby's just going to fill up their hand with a lot of spells and traps. So if they can survive this early onslaught from MattUber, they're going to have a lot of ways to fight back once they can actually activate these cards once it's their turn again. We're going to fire off a Giant Trunade, and Bobby will chain the Threatening Roar. Really nice card here to deal with just a big sort of combo-esque turn here with the Cyberjar. And like I mentioned, Bobby does have a lot of good cards in their hand now, so if they can survive till their turn without taking too much damage, they might be in a pretty solid spot. And this Threatening Roar is pretty much going to guarantee that they're able to do that, because MattUber won't be able to attack with any of their monsters here for the rest of this turn. Trunade resolves otherwise, but that's just going to stop MattUber right in their tracks, I feel like. It's going to set a couple back row and another monster and pass, essentially wasting a Giant Trunade. It didn't force out the Threatening Roar, but now Bobby, with this nice full hand, can start going to town. Now, we do know they have Heavy Storm in hand. MattUber also knows that Bobby Buckets has Heavy Storm in hand, so it's a classic will they, won't they sort of thing here. How many of these back row are chainables for MattUber, because you're setting it into known heavy. Really interesting potential here to see when Bobby fires off this heavy, and when they do, what MattUber has loaded up in the back row. Seems like it could be a very pivotal moment here in Game 2. Might not matter, though. We're just going to get Standby Phase Ojama Trio, fill up the board, remove one card out of the Heavy Storm damage. Heavy Storm is just going to get fired off here. MattUber's going to chain the desserts for 1,500, and then just pop a Mirror Force. At the end of the day, just kind of a 1-for-1. But the back row is gone here for Bobby to go for a play if they so choose. Only 2 monster zones available to them, but the Premature in hand is pretty much dead with just the Faith Engrave. So not the end of the world. We're going to fire off this Pot of Greed, though, that we knew about. Pretty nice. Snatch Steal on Tribe is actually really solid. Not only does it, it deals with this entire board super duper well, except for the single set monster. So yeah, let's see. We're just about to watch Tribe completely destroy this board. Call Zombie, kill the Pyramid Turtle, sure. Call Beast to deal with all these trio tokens. Sure, you'll take 900, but better than losing to a Gyakugiri Panda, of course. And then do we call it one more time to... Oh, I guess you could just beat over the Kinetic Soldier, since Tribe is not a warrior, so the effect is null. Or we're just going to go for Black Luster Soldier. Wow, so what a turnaround turn here for Bobby. Yeah, like I said, just needed to survive that big Cyberjar turn, and then had the Heavy Storm, had the Pot of Greed, had some really, really solid cards. And Threatening Roar, honestly, coming in very, very clutch here, setting up for this big turn. Had the Snatch for the Tribe, had the BLS here, notably using Tribe to set up the Graveyard for the BLS as well, discarding the Kaiku to get the Dark Engrave. Really, really nice tactics here from Bobby, really taking control of this game here. BLS can go ahead, banish the set monster, which was that Morphing Jar. So really, really nice intuition here from Bobby, dealing with a very key set monster. You might have done really good to survive a single jar resolution, but I feel like I've never seen a burn player lose when they got to resolve both jars in one game. And now you can just go ahead and, you can even normal summon another monster to get more damage in, and then try beat over the kinetic and get in with the other one. Would be pretty nice. Show me the Donzalug, actually. DD Warrior Lady. Also just a nice big beat stick. Get in for 15. And now Bobby has taken complete control over this game. That Cyberjar resolution just completely going the opposite direction that MattUber would have hoped. And it's really because Bobby was able to resolve... they had Heavy to clear out the back row so that they could resolve this Snatch Steal on the Tribe and just completely decimate MattUber's board. This Tribe really just set up everything, right? And MattUber is now has 2 cards to Bobby's a billion. Looking pretty good for our warrior player here. Gonna fill up the back row as well. Snatch will gain MattUber a little bit of life, but when you're staring down such a formidable board, that is just a small consolation prize, it feels like. MattUber has Heavy Storm, though, but Bobby does have the Solemn Judgment. Only paying 2,100. That's pretty nice, especially to keep this tribe on your side of the field, since that would really decimate your board. Yeah, both players really fighting over custody of this tribe infecting virus. One of the strongest cards in the format, of course, so no surprise there. Bobby having the Solemn here to protect it might be exactly the move that they need to close out this game that they're pretty far ahead in already. MattUber has BrainCon. Do we BrainCon the tribe and just call warrior? No, we're going to BrainCon the BLS. We're just going to go for game here. We could go BLS, attack over tribe, attack over DD warrior lady for game. That would be interesting. So we're going to see. Yeah, we're going for game here. Okay, Bobby. Well, oh, but we know Bobby. Oh, no, the Sakuretsu is in the grave. We discarded that to tribe. So this could just be game, actually, even though Bobby has 3 back row. Oh, but we got the threatening roar. Wow. Okay, so double threatening roar here. Actually doing a ton of work for Bobby. Now, this is actually pretty funny because why are these threatening roars in the side deck? Is because I would have to assume Damage Step is prepped heavily for MattUber's Steingate list, where threatening roar is a very, very solid card against. But it's actually in here doing a ton of work against MattUber on a completely different list. And I wonder if that's a minor error in prep because, like, there is overlap in the cards you would bring in for both of them, right? So even though you actually caught your opponent off guard by playing a deck that wasn't Steingate, the stuff that they were planning to use against you is working out totally fine anyway. So yeah, interesting meta calls here for the bug catchers, it seems like. But Bobby is definitely doing a solid job here with maybe a deck that wasn't even particularly prepped for the burn matchup, but just has some solid units in the list ready to go anyway. Main phase 2, we are going to go BLS banish the DD Warrior Lady. It never actually got the chance to declare the attack because the threatening roar would have gone off like in the beginning before attack declaration, right? So the effect to banish is still alive. Interestingly, choosing to banish the DD Warrior Lady instead of the tribe. At this point, I'm not sure how much it matters. Oh, and then we're going to go tribute set a monster. Wow. Okay, I wonder what that... Oh, it's the Ryukoki. Right, yeah. So MattUber going for tribute set Ryukoki. So getting some value off of that BrainCon, stealing BLS, banishing a monster, and then tributing over it. However, this will be easily dealt with by this tribe, you would have to guess. At the very least, you can just go tribe crash into the Ryukoki. Take a little bit of damage, which is scary, but then you can just discard a card to deal with it. Premature Burial is really, really solid, though. And yeah, we knew that was in the hand as well. Or no, sorry, I'm thinking of last game. We actually didn't know about the Premature Burial. Or did we? I don't remember at this point. Sorry, guys. But either way, Premature Burial on Blackluster Soldier is a pretty strong play. It'll cost you 800. You're down to 13, which is a little scary, especially if you can't win on this particular turn. But we do have a card that just come in, deal with this Ryukoki without taking any damage, which is nice. And now you can get in for 16. You do lose to, what? Top deck's Secret Barrel if you don't have a Solemn Judgment. But now you have, lots of damage here. 2-turn clock, all things said. MattUber finds the level limit area B. Wow, okay, this is actually kind of a big deal. Oh, but we know Bobby just has the Dust Tornado, right? Off of that Cyber Jar, so yeah, this isn't going to really do too much at this point in time. Drop return, use the Dust Tornado on the level limit, turn everyone back to attack position. And then Donzalug is not exactly game. What is that, 46? No, this is game. Okay. Yeah, Donzalug puts them to 6k total damage. And that's going to be game 2 here to Bobby Buckets. Completely flipping the script. We saw MattUber with a pretty sweet zombie package coming in out of the side. Resolved a Cyber Jar, which is generally quite good as the burn player. But Bobby had the threatening roar to delay 1 turn and then just went to town with all the goodies that they got off that Cyber Jar and never looked back. And shout out, honorable mention to the Tribe Infecting Virus that they snatched from MattUber to completely wipe the board. Really solid play there. 4 damage steps, Bobby Buckets. And now we're going to game 3. MattUber on this burn list will be able to go first for the first time this match, which I'm sure they're pretty happy about. But this is for all the marbles, folks. Winner will move on to the next round or the next wave of this playoffs, assuming that there is one, assuming we don't get a 6-0 sweep, which is pretty unlikely, but has happened a couple times this playoffs already. MattUber's going to lead off with a pot of greed. Really happy to see that if you are a bug catchers fan, going up a card really early, getting that juicy burn damage loaded up in the hand. We're going to go set a monster, activate that level limit. Maybe it's another jar. Maybe we're trying to set up for a big jar resolution by protecting it with the battle floodgate. See what Bobby can do here. Just going to go normal summon breaker. It will be able to pop the level limit, but not until after it's already been turned to defense position. So you won't get the classic summon breaker, pop something, then attack with the breaker play that you would normally get with this card. But for now, it's just only going to, net you positive card advantage. The horror, right? Breaker not actually just being completely insane. But Breaker's going to pop that level limit. Bobby able to use their back row removal to deal with a battle floodgate, which, as we saw, was the cause of their demise in game 1. So nice that they recognize that key play. MattUber's going to go normal summon Panda. It's at 1300 attack, big enough to get over the defense position breaker. And we're going to go flip summon Sangan. So a little bit of beatdown coming in here. Panda over the breaker, but the mirror force is going to come through. Okay, so this is just a 1-for-1 trade, sort of, right? It's mirror force for Panda, but it does protect your breaker. Sangan Search will go off, but notably, MattUber's already used their normal summon for the turn, so they won't be able to play whatever Sangan grabs for a little bit. And while all is said and done, this breaker will be able to stick around to start beating in a little bit. Oh, MattUber's going to grab Karibo. Huh. Are we like really... No. Huh. Interesting. Are we worried about like Donzalug? Seems like there's got to be stronger cards than Karibo in this list, right? Oh, is that because you just want to discard it to the Graceful Charity, maybe? That'd be funny. In phase 2, Charity, discard Turtle and Morphing Jar. Okay, so maybe has a pretty monster-heavy hand. So unable to set a bunch of back row and get value out of this Morphing Jar is kind of how I read that. Keeping the Karibo is an interesting call. I feel like generally you want cards that kill your opponent as a burn player rather than stopping them from killing you. I feel like if you're ever in a position where Karibo is useful, you're probably already losing that game for the most part, unless it's specifically like anti-Donzalug tech, I guess. Oh, is it anti-Cliff? I don't know the exact wording on Cliff, the trap remover, but maybe it's good against him potentially. But yeah, I feel like we're kind of seeing a potential pitfall of this zombie strat in the burn list, because it does probably up your monster count a bit, and then you get these weird hands where you just have not that much back row, I guess, maybe. I mean, they still could have a lot of back row. We haven't seen the post-Graceful Charity play. Okay, we're going to set 3, sure. Breaker still lives for now, though. Trio in the standby phase will fill up all but 1 monster zones on Bobby's side of the field. And now, let's see. I'm just going to go Breaker to attack Slammin for 16. Seems pretty good to me. MattUber will take that. No Karibo here to hit you 1,600 points of damage. Set a back row pass. Still nothing crazy out of both players just yet, but Bobby's got to be pretty happy that they at least have a clock on the board. We're going to end phase Just Desserts for 2K. That's pretty solid value, dropping Bobby down to 6,000. Very, exactly on rate burn card for MattUber. 2K a card per Just Desserts / Secret Barrel is generally considered what you want to aim for. MattUber has the giant rat here. Are we going to crash into the breaker? Yeah, okay. Do we go for the zombie play? We're going to crash rat into breaker, rat search turtle, crash that, turtle search Ryukoki. Could be a play. But the Sakuretsu armor coming in here. Nice. And yeah, I mean, Saku is a card that A, Warrior is generally main decking anyway, and B, is a card that's generally good against burn anyway. So like the zombie side strat doesn't actually help too much against the Saku plan that a lot of decks are on against Panda Burn. I guess Turtle and Rat can be like annoying walls, kind of like how a lot of Turbo players recently have been playing Mystic Tomato in the Warrior matchup, just to like have an annoying floater on board, a recruiter, right? But if you're going to be attacking into your opponent and playing into the Sakus that they're already going to be bringing in, makes Pyramid Turtle look kind of bad, I feel like. And yeah, Saku's going to come through. Oh, I stand corrected, though. MattUber's got the Royal Decree. All right, we're playing Decree in a burn list, having already used Trio plus Dessert, so maybe getting the combo out of the way. So we're happy to go for this Decree play. And now the Rat Crash is live. We're gonna go Rat into Panda. I mean, that seems pretty good too with all these Trio tokens on board. Yeah, Giant Rat, Search Panda, kill the Breaker, deal a bunch of damage. Still a very, very big monster as well, thanks to the triple Trio tokens on board. And this is actually a pretty nice turn here for MattUber. Had the Royal Degree here to force through the Giant Rat Crash to go for the Panda on a Trio board. So pretty nice so far. MattUber, yeah, doing a lot of damage. Bobby's dropped down to 4,800 here. Wow. And it's under Decree, which is a double-edged sword for the burn player, but when you're beaten down, you know, it's good to protect you from battle traps and stuff like we just saw. Bobby's just going to set a couple back row, hide behind these Trio tokens. Do we expect Royal Decree here? Probably not. Wow, yeah, Bobby's going to take a big chunk of damage. Yeah, 1,300 plus the 300 from the token dying. Nice. And MattUber can set another monster, continue this train, and Bobby just doesn't seem to have an out to this Panda just yet. All the way down to 3,200 life points. A little bit sketchy. Ooh, Kaiku is a nice draw. Kind of. I mean, the Panda's pretty big. Won't be able to get over it. But we can attack the set monster, which is a kinetic soldier, so those are just going to crash into each other and nothing will happen. Not the most crazy thing you'll ever see. Bobby sets another back row, probably fake because of the Decree. And now we probably just beat over the Kaiku with the Panda, right? Seems pretty solid. We're going to snatch a Trio token, powering down our Panda. What's the... Oh, is the idea we want to resolve another Trio at some point? Oh, we're going to Brain Con the Kaiku. Okay. Are we just going for a game? I guess? Or are we going to Heavy Storm? We're going to steal the Kaiku, and then we're going to Heavy Storm, so the Trio token goes back in attack position, and then you can go for game with all of your monsters. That is the play. Bobby's going to MST. Ah, we had MST to deal with the Decree, though. Okay, what's the play? So we've got BrainCon targeting Kaiku. We're chaining MST on the Decree. MattUber is going to MST a random back row, hitting a Dust Tornado, which would have been an out to the Snatch Steal, but you probably don't care about that. All this is going to resolve, though. Kaiku goes over back. Kaiku goes to MattUber side of the field till the end of the turn. But Bobby Bucket still has a single back row here, which they were probably setting up with that Royal Decree pop, is my guess. So we're not heavy storming. Okay, so we're just gonna go Panda, kill a token for 600 total damage, drop Bobby to 26, and then yeah, I mean I guess this is just lethal between the Kinetic and the Kaiku, but Bobby has their back row live with this Decree gone. They're gonna take 300 plus 300. Kinetic gets in for 1350. We've got widespread ruin though to deal with the Kaiku. And they will live to see another day. They're going to start gaining 1,000 a turn off of this Trio token that got Snatch Sealed. And Bobby will live at 1,250 life points, but they're staring down lethal with two pretty scary monsters to boot as well. One with piercing damage, so setting stuff isn't going to do too much. And then Kinetic Soldier, which is just an absolute house against Warrior. So Bobby backed into a corner here for sure. Pot of Greed is a pretty good card to see in sticky situations, though. Got Pot into Tribe Infecting Virus. Wow. Okay, that is just an insane card. You can call Beast, wipe out the board, and then beat over the Kinetic. Where have I seen this before? Hello, Game 2 called. They want their game-winning play back. Tribe Call Beast. Or Tribe Call Machine to deal with the Kinetic. And we're just going to kill the Panda. And keep the Trio token around so we gain a little bit more life. I like where Bobby's coming from. Playing to gain life as much as possible, make things really awkward for MattUber. We can kill the Panda, kill the Kinetic, set up for some good stuff down the line. And MattUber, what, you just have to crash into the Tribe to prevent Bobby from getting a life? That seems kind of silly, but maybe that's the play. And yeah, Snatch Steal on the... Yeah, I mean, I guess MattUber was just thinking there's no way Bobby has an out to the Decree. Like, they literally had to have exactly MST there, right? which they did. You know, sometimes they have it. So yeah, MattUber going for game there. It looks kind of silly now because Bobby could refute it, right? But I think it was probably correct because what are you going to do? Play around the Singleton MST? Surely not, right? But now Bobby has a pretty solid chance in this game, and they're just not even worried about this trio token. They're not worried about dealing damage. They're saying, you know what? I'm happy to gain 1,000 life a turn and get myself out of range of any of your burn cards. And MattUber kind of needs to do something with this trio token. Otherwise, Bobby will get out of range really quickly. We're going to go normal summon Pyramid Turtle. Turtle will go crash into the tribe. Show me the Sakuretsu armor. Show me the widespread rune. Ring of Destruction does the job just as well, too. But we got the Decree again here for MattUber. Wow. So we're on multiple copies of Decree here in game 3. Once again, using it to force through a Recruiter crash play. This time we're going into Ryukoki. If we can go beat over this tribe. But once again, this Ojama token is still on the board, still gaining Bobby life. Not the end of the world for Bobby. They're going to go up to 3450 thanks to the Snatch Steal. Set Monster could be something good. We know that they are playing Magician of Faith in the 55 with a couple juicy targets in the grave. What is the play? We're going to go flip. So it was the Magician of Faith. Wow, okay. So do we grab the MST to maybe have an answer to the Decree or something? Or do we grab the pot and try and dig for some big units? We're going to go for the pot. We're digging here. We need to find it out for the Ryukoki. This is the anti-warrior card that MattUber made the linchpin of this interesting post-side strategy here in the Burn versus Warrior matchup. Smashing Ground is a very good card here against the Ryukoki. Probably not a card that you play against normal Panda Burn, but against this zombie Smokescreen seems pretty solid. Going to deal with the Ryukoki, and now we've got Ninja Grandmaster Sasuke. Okay, so Bobby is saying now it's time to get aggressive. We can go Grandmaster over the token, Faith get in for 300. I guess with the Decree on board, you're fine getting a little bit more aggressive because you're not super duper worried about too much damage at this point. You're just going to lose out of nowhere unless MattUber has some crazy like Trunade in to set a bunch of back row play. But it's kind of unlikely at this point that now that they're so low on cards. And so I like Bobby getting a little bit more aggressive here. Set a back row here as well. And we're just going to say draw go. So this is another 2,100 potential points of damage, maybe even more coming through. We're going to go Kaiku as well. We can start banishing the grave. We haven't seen MattUber play any Book of Life stuff. I'm not sure if they're that deep into the zombie action. But Kaiku just being a bunch of damage is pretty nice. And this is almost lethal. We're 200 points off lethal here right now with this board. You might not even want to risk the Faith in attack position, though. No, we're just going to go for it. Sure. Hit for 3,900 points of damage total. Ah, the Karibo. I forgot about the Karibo. MattUber using it to block 1,800 points of damage from the Kaiku, preventing the Kaiku effect from coming through. Not sure if that matters too much, but it will prevent MattUber from, I don't know, not too much. I feel like the Karibo didn't actually do too much, guys. Hate to break it to you. Let's see. Breaker is really strong right now. It is 1,900 attack points. You don't really need to pop the back row probably because it's probably dead because of Decree. And so Breaker is just going to take complete control over the board here. You can go ahead, kill the Grandmaster, kill the Kaiku. You probably want to kill the Kaiku first as to not get a Light Engrave for free for Bobby, is my guess. So yeah, let's kill the Kaiku. Sure. Nice. And now we have complete control over the board with this Breaker. Set another back row. Sure. Bobby finds the Blade Knight. Okay, the arms race here. Kaiku's 1,800 gets beaten by Breaker's 1,900. Breaker's 1,900 gets beaten by Blade Knight's 2,000. If MattUber top decks Zambira, I'm going to laugh, but that is pretty unlikely. Either way, though, the Blade Knight is going to be pretty clutch, and suddenly this is lethal damage. Blade Knight over Breaker. Or is it? It's not lethal because we're not attacking with the Faith, so it's not lethal. I lied. Still pretty solid though, and Ninja Grandmaster will get in for a full 2K, dropping MattUber down to 400 life points. Back up against the wall, staring down lethal. The top deck Breaker was dealt with handily by this Blade Knight. Gonna set a monster. See if Bobby can punch through for the last couple points of damage. Set a back row in case it's Morphing Jar. Blade Knight kills the Giant Rat. Okay. So Giant Rat will be able to float, but do we have targets left in the deck? I guess Exiled, we know. Probably the third Panda. It's going to be Pyramid Turtle. Okay, do we play double Ryukoki? That seems unlikely. But we're going to go Ninja Grandmaster. Oh, this is just game anyway, though. Grandmaster over the Pyramid Turtle. Yeah. Because Giant Rat has to summon an attack position. So this is just game anyway. And there you have it. Wow, what a crazy, crazy game 3 here. MattUber fooled everyone. Not bringing their patented Steingate list. Ran Panda Burn with a zombie smokescreen here in the semifinals of the GOAT Format War League. Falling, though, 2 games to 1 against, a reverse sweep here from Bobby Buckets on just a classic Warrior list. Like I said, pretty good matchup into Burn. You're bringing that expecting to run into Chaos Turbo that the Bugcatchers plays, but you find yourself into this Burn matchup, which you ended up navigating quite well anyway, and that is a dub on the board for Damage Step. 5th seed versus 1 seed, by the way, on the route potentially for another upset. Let's see, let's check in and with the results of the Wave 1 pairings, and oh boy, ladies and gentlemen, looks like we've got a potential another upset on our hands here. Damage Step off to a very, very respectable 5-1 start against Budcatchers, eliminating everyone, eliminating both of their seeded players, MattUber and Betchy, as well as Planchy, Bugcatcher Jose, and Aiko. Just rev here for the Bugcatchers. Last person standing was able to defeat Damage Step's Booty Pablioni, but now they're going to have to go through the full 5-player gauntlet here of Damage Step if they want to find their way to the finals. All left to play for here. Of course, it ain't over till it's over, but Damage Step here off to a very, very solid start here in the semifinals. Really cool game here. Very well played by Bobby Buckets into a bit of a curveball matchup, dispatching MattUber on that Panda Burn zombie hybrid list. Really cool to see. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments, and I will catch you all next time.